Long before the introduction of BVN and NIN, Nigerians have had to submit their data for the purpose of identification and screening in order to obtain various documents. Now NIN has been made compulsory for every Nigerian. What measure is being taken to ensure harmonization and security of the data provided by Nigerians? This is Report on ITV. My name is Blessing Aichi.
Data collection and collation, and at every given time we are asked to come with necessary data, your passports or international passports or driver's license, to ascertain and verify who you are. In that regard, it's rather funny in the sense that in civilized clime, for instance, I traveled before, so at the time I arrived, I was having a talk with the guy on the other hand, at the immigration, and he now reminded me of when I came before, and I was looking at him. Why? He said he was not the person that attended to me though, but he said the record shows that I did not stay so time. It was a kind of a talk that I stayed there for just 10 days. I would have stayed up to a month, but I said that's correct. Now that suggests to say a visitor that just visited the country is being recognized and they knew all I did. Now if I were to be a robber or a criminal, someone who has done something stupid, it will also reflect there because everything is in the central collation system. Common identification we don't have. When something goes wrong with someone in the village, you don't even know her. Let's say one woman. It's only in Nigeria we have unknown soldiers. And this was somebody who was enlisted into the Nigerian army.
In terms of data collection, so many data collection activities have taken place in the past. You have the BVN, you have the communication networks or mobile networks. You have such sundry issues or sundry categories of data collections. But the National Identity Management Commission is the one recognized by law, because the ones that are collected by such sectors like the bank, the banking population may not be up to about 40% or so of the Nigerian population. So that cannot be a reliable database that the government could fall back on. The world over, you have such spread of data collection, but there's always the backbone, the main one, which pertains to the NIMC, as we're talking about, the National Identity Management Commission, which act was passed 4 days before the end of Obasanjo's tenure in 2007. Now, it's a sorry tale that this is 2021. 14 years after it was passed into law, to now put flesh to our data collection process. So that's why I said for me it's a sorry tale. The National Identity Management Act that was passed encompasses so many details because that one is compulsory. The National Identity Management Act, which pertains to the country at large, which is governed or covered by an act, is the one that is supposed to synchronize all the other ones that we have.
Having database of citizens of every nation, it's very paramount because it forms the basis of security in every nation. Before now, the Nigerian government have not taken seriously the collation of data. Like in every sense society, they have the information of every citizen to the extent that a newborn baby name and other relevant information is being infused into database, but that have never been in case of Nigeria. Over time, Nigeria government have come up with collecting data, but there is no political will to actually harmonize the data of Nigeria citizens, which will serve as a bedrock to knowing the numbers of citizens in this country. If you look at over time, there is believe that the Nigeria population is between 180 million, 190, 200, and 200 something million, as the case may be. It's because we do not have the database of Nigeria citizens. So thank God that this government has also come up with the idea of this NII registration, which over time other governments have also come up with it. There was a time we had BVN, which also thought that BVN to an extent will also form a database of Nigerian citizens. But today they have also come up. We want to encourage the government that this present dispensation, most especially for the purpose of dealing with the insecurity in this country, there is a need to collate the database of Nigerian citizens.
Data is useful for decision making. So the more data points that can be synergized, the more ability for the decision makers to use the data very well. So if we're able to synergize data, it's very good for security. It's also good for instance, if the identification, if you can harmonize the data points together easily inside one pool, then it makes it easy for banks to trust a person when they are trying to do transactions. It makes it easy for security agencies to track a criminal when they commit a crime. It makes it easy for government to handle policies that have to do with demographics, data, and things like that. So, but the problem, there's a challenge with harmonizing data. Who is in charge of this data? Who is in charge? Okay, that is why it is important that we ensure that the people in charge of data do not abuse the data, because having too much information about people may lead to what we call the Big Brother problem. Okay, the Big Brother problem, if you have read the book 1984, here we have a Big Brother who has information about everybody and tracks them to their peril. So why on the one hand it is good for control purposes, there must be a legal framework to ensure that this data is not breached and is not abused by the handlers. So on the playing field, harmonization of data is good for security, for economy, for economic management, for tracking criminals, for also ensuring that information flows easily, and for planning purposes. Create a committee that has members from all the organizations. In fact, it encourages them to collaborate. Okay, so if all of them are looking at the same set of data, it forces them to work together. So that is what we need in government. Government becomes bigger because they cannot synergize. So these people, there will be problems, working problems trying to harmonize this data. But when they have these continuous sessions to harmonize the data, and they have a basic frame by which they can relate with each other, it makes it easier, it makes it better for the whole society itself.
No sane nation can actually develop without having database. In developed countries of the world, such as the US for instance, when a child is given birth, automatically the data of that very particular child is taken. The appropriate authority will come and have the data. The essence of all of this data cannot be overemphasized when it comes to economic policy, political, and otherwise. But it's quite, even at the level of security, which is also very paramount. But unfortunately in Nigeria, it's bad that up to this moment we still don't have the database, and these are the reasons why we find it difficult over time to come out with policies that would have helped us to actually do well in the area of security, economy, and otherwise. And I also discovered that even when we try to come up with these policies by way of having this database, the government are not also forthcoming. If you go to NIN offices around Nigeria, Edo State in particular, you discover that the staffs there are, often over time they cry that they don't have the logistics to actually carry out all of this insight the way it ought to.
Now that NIN has become the approved identification number for each Nigerian, it rests on government through its agencies to ensure harmonization of data collected into a central database, so Nigerians do not need to go through data collection processes over and over again, and also to ensure protection of these data so that unauthorized persons do not have access to them for fraudulent purposes. I am Blessing Aichi.